like that, but he has a really bad habit, if you don't know, about making really harsh and brash statements about certain topics. And they're usually things that are not necessarily agreed massively upon. But he's about to talk about Christianity and Islam. And I want you to hear what his words are. And we're going to talk about biblically whether we think that this is accurate or not. So this gentleman just asked him, what are your thoughts on Islam? And this is his response. Actually, before I go into it, I just want to say, if you have children around, he's going to use some inappropriate language. So please make sure that you are of age if you're going to listen to this.
I've seen you talk about it a little bit, but I would like to know, like, what do you think about it? I think it's the last religion on the planet. I think it's the right religion. I think it's the last religion. So if it's the last true religion on the planet, then it has to be the correct one.
First off, that logic, he's correct. It is the last religion on the planet. That is true. That's the last of the core religions. And he says it has to be the correct one since it's the last. That logic makes no sense to me. To me, you would think it would be the complete opposite, that the first religion would actually be the correct religion if you're going to use the logic that he's about to use. But again, I think that he's about to get even background crazier with it. But he's got a few extremely valid points that Christians should consider here.
Because I don't think it's the last one. It's the last religion because no other religion has boundaries which they enforce. If you stand...
It's not because of that. It's because it literally was the last religion. But his point right there, he just said it's the only religion that has all of its boundaries that stay enforced. Hear what he's about to say here.
If you will tolerate everything, then you stand for nothing. If your book says X, but you refuse to say the book says this, I'm sticking to what the book says. Doesn't matter what the subject is, right? I don't want to Gus Band. I think everyone can work it out. If you're a Christian, 99% of Christians are ignoring every single rule inside the Bible.
Can Christians interpret the Bible, you're saying? Like they pick and choose what they want to stick with?
Yeah, they try and say, I interpret it differently. I believe in God, but I don't believe in that part. That's not what the book says. It doesn't say ignore half of me. It says follow me. No, only Muslims follow their book.
No, true. No.
Whoa. Did you hear that? He said that Christians are cherry picking and choosing what they want to hear from the Bible, the things that generally just make their lives more beneficial and so that they can live it the way that they're wanting to live it anyways. And they just kind of ignore the rest because they don't want to do it. And then they use the justification of it's my interpretation of the text when it comes to these topics. This is from a dude who obviously does not love Jesus. I mean, he just said he's not a Christian. And it said if he follows anything, he follows the book of Islam. And his statements that he makes regularly about a lot of topics actually fall in line a lot with Islam as well, by the way. I've never heard him say that he was Islamic, but keep listening.
Oh, true. So they're the last religion. Yeah. Who gives a shit if Christians come along and say, I'm a Christian, Give a fuck. You ignore the Bible.
Well, isn't there a lot of Muslims that don't follow the Quran too, though?
I'm sure there's a lot of Muslims who don't completely follow the Quran. But I'm saying that if you were to go out there and try and find Muslims who live true to the Quran completely, you can find them. Yeah. You ain't going to find a single...
you can find Christians.
No, you won't.
Yeah.
Muslim religion, I mean, not to even no diss on any religion, but like, you're not going to find a Muslim slut. Like,
that's right.
Like a woman that's a Muslim that's...
Bro, you put me in any fucking church. Give me the hottest church.
There's Muslim sluts out there.
Yeah. So again, his point is not correct there. There's plenty of people who are lukewarm, who are Christians. There's plenty of people who are lukewarm, who are Muslims. I personally know people who are lukewarm Muslims. So again, that aspect is not correct. But again, the point that he's getting at was saying that you're going to find a lot more people, more than likely, who are Christians, proclaiming Christians who are lukewarm versus Muslims who are lukewarm is extremely, extremely valid. It's 100% correct. And there's a few reasons as to why this is true, by the way. And I want you to consider these as a Christian to make sure that this is hopefully not you in your life. The first reason that this is true is, first off, their culture. A lot of people who are Muslim are in the Middle East, as you probably know. And this culture is just extreme when it comes to their beliefs and saying, hey, we're going to stick to this thing and we're going to be hyper intentional about this thing. And we're going to be in fellowship together to make sure that we're holding each other accountable to the things that we say that we're going to hold ourselves accountable to. And they do that. There's little to no love shown in these areas. That's, quite evident. I think most people would agree, especially just Middle Eastern culture, regardless of being Muslim or not. I think that's just a cultural thing in the Middle East. But that's a really, really powerful point that we should consider as Christians. So what we can learn from Muslims in this is that we as Christians should be really serious when it comes to our faith and really serious when it comes to fellowship and accountability on our topics instead of just letting everybody do their own thing. So that's the first reason. The second reason is obviously the danger aspect of it, right? These people are extremely, tempting that if you're going to leave the Muslim faith, that you're going to get murdered for it. So that's another aspect that makes people much more, serious about it. But there's a really valid point that we should consider as Christians, that we should, not have the concern of getting murdered by another Christian if we leave, but think of the costs of becoming a Christian. I mean, look at Jesus's words in Matthew 13. Did Jesus's words in Matthew 13 appear to be the kinds of words where it's just this soft, cuddly wuddly, you can choose if you want to follow me or not, it's okay if you're just going to kind of be half in, half out? No. Like Revelation 3, like to the church of Laodicea, I write, you're not hot or cold. And since you are neither hot nor cold and you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. Those are pretty intense words from Jesus. That's Jesus, red letters, Jesus speaking to the church there. And he makes a really powerful point that Muslims are 100% going to be intentional about following their book, and people who are Christians are not going to be intentional about following their book. Now, part of why this is, and this isn't justification, but is because culture, in American culture specifically, gives extreme high honor to people who are Muslim for some reason, and gives extreme harsh criticism to people who are Christians. Now, this shouldn't be justification as to why Christians are, caving under the pressure or not. I mean, Matthew 10, Jesus promises we're going to be persecuted. And the letters to Timothy promise that we're going to be persecuted for our faith. So we should be expecting and acknowledging and understanding that persecution comes with the terms here. But for us to just not say and speak the truth of Jesus because of these things is heartbreaking. And the fact that somebody like him, who's a non-believer, who has a massive following online, is able to discern something so powerfully. And so, I mean, I would challenge that's borderline prophetic. Obviously, it's not like from the Lord prophetic, but I just mean like, in regards to the actual definition of prophecy, like that is pretty prophetic to the church, and the church should really be considering his words there. We as Christians need to be able to stand up for what we believe and be confident and intentional about the things that we believe. I also believe, in all fairness, that Andrew Tate has a very warped view of some of the things that we're supposed to do as Christians. Like, not everything is a command in scripture that you see. Something like, eating certain foods or sacrificing animals. These were given to the Old Testament, Old Covenant Jews. I am not Old Testament or Old Covenant. I'm New Covenant, and I'm not a Jew anyway, so I would have never followed those things regardless. But my point is, we as Christians do have some people who are misinterpreting the things that we believe. But if we just look objectively at what he just said, is he right or not? The answer is yes, he's definitely right. Us as Christians cannot just live in this ho-hum, wishy-washy. We're going to choose to agree with some things, choose to obey other things, and not because we don't like that or disagree with that. This kind of progressive Christian thought process is horribly demonic, and it's obviously painting a terrible, terrible picture on the church to the world. And people who have a massive following, Christians just got shot down by that. We should have more devotion to our faith than you're going to see in any other religion on the planet. And it's heartbreaking. It grieves me when I first saw this to see that this is something that is a genuine, serious reality with Christians. And we as Christians need to really wake up to the reality of how the world is perceiving us and do something different with our own Christian walks so that we can make sure that we're not living in these kinds of hypocritical ways. I've quoted this before, but there's a Brennan Manning quote, and he says, the number one reason for atheism today is Christians who profess Christ with their mouth but deny him with their lifestyle. This is what an unbelieving world simply finds unbelievable.